We'll change gears to right-wing extremists mobilizing en masse in France on Wednesday night during celebrations of France's win against Morocco in the World Cup. Our press reviewer, Diptyque Laurent, is here to take us through it.
That's right, Aaron. Those joyous celebrations on Wednesday was somewhat marred by this night of violence and racism, something that the French paper Libération is looking at, the left-wing paper, on its front page here. In its headline here, it says, Nuit Bleue, Peste Brune, so a night that was meant to celebrate Les Bleus, the French football team, that was overshadowed by the peste brune, which is sort of like the brown pest, which is a reference to the far right, or specifically linked to Nazis in the 1930s. So in this double-page spread, Libération explains here that around 40 individuals belonging to the Parisian ultra-right were arrested for plotting a mob-like attack on Moroccan supporters, and similar scenes took place in cities like Lyon, Montpellier, and Nice, where racist chants were yelled at supporters. Fortunately, though, authorities were able to step in before the violence really escalated. But the clearly shaken editor of Libération today writes in this editorial that's entitled Hatred that not even in her worst nightmares did she think she'd be having to talk about racism in an editorial. She says racism that really evokes a very dark period in France, and she really points the blame at French right-wing politicians or far-right politicians like Marine Le Pen, but also Éric Zemmour, who she says are really fanning the flames of this sort of racist hatred and racist ideology, Aaron.
It's surprising given how many players on the French team are also players of color. But anyway, Diptyque, we'll take a look at the British front pages now, where two stories are really dominating the dailies today.
That's right. You have two stories that are really... actually, before we get to the British papers, let me show you the French papers, because we actually have a lot of focus on that World Cup final that of course, is taking place on Sunday, Aaron. So you have L'Équipe here, who's actually going with a front page focusing not on the French team, but on Lionel Messi himself. But they do call him Messi le Français because he is, of course, Argentinian, but he knows the French Les Bleus very well. He plays for Paris Saint-Germain, of course, with Kylian Mbappé, but also when he played for Barcelona, he played alongside Antoine Griezmann and Ousmane Dembélé. So he knows the team that he'll be facing, that he and his team will be facing on Sunday very well. Even L'Humanité, which is generally a very political paper, very sort of hard-hitting paper today, is sort of jumping into football fever as well. Here on its front page, L'Humanité says 1, 2, and 3 dots here. Maybe, just maybe, France will get that third star on Sunday, but that remains to be seen. What's interesting on this front page is you might see this little sort of disclaimer here. It says here, Qatar 2022, never again. So the paper, even though they're sort of jumping into that football fever, that sort of disclaimer reminding us that they're still very much vehemently opposed to Qatar's hosting of the World Cup and all of the controversy that it courted in the lead up to the competition. Let's just end with this. In this section with the front page from the Argentinian press. This is from Ole, focusing on Messi on its front page. The paper, that headline reading, "Let's go Messi." And in fact, they've interviewed sort of a who's who of world football, all of whom seem to say that Messi deserves to end his career with a World Cup win for Argentina. I dare say France might have other ideas on Sunday, Aaron.
Easy to imagine. Diptyque. All right, well, we'll turn to those British front pages now with those two stories dominating the headlines.
That's right. So it's interesting. You do really have this juxtaposition today, two diametrically opposed front page stories, that of the tens of thousands of nurses who went on strike in one of the biggest industrial strike actions yesterday across England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, calling essentially for pay increases. Their industrial action did garner a lot of sympathy in the British press today. You have the Daily Mirror here, who says this is what compassion looks like. You also have the Daily Record down here saying make it count, really backing those pay increases for nurses across the UK. The Eye also focusing on the health crisis in its front page, noting that all 10 ambulance trusts in England have been put on its highest alert as a winter emergency surge is really triggering a crisis. Now, you will notice that there is another story that's dominating the British papers. It's this one here. When will this royal soap opera end? That is, of course, Harry and Meghan, who are once again dominating the British papers because the second part of their Netflix documentary actually dropped yesterday, and there were some pretty explosive revelations about Harry notably being bullied by his family. That's why the Daily Express here is asking, why, Harry? Why would you do this to your family? You also have the Daily Mail on its front page focusing on the royal family's dignity in the face of treachery. And there's that sort of similar ideology of betrayal in The Sun, the tabloid today, evoking what it calls a traitor and the dutiful.
Not a lot of diversity in those opinions from the British press there. All right. Well, Kate Middleton is also on the front of The Sun, and she'll also be the focus. She's also the focus, rather, of French gossip magazine Gala, but for a completely different reason.
Well, Erin, I'm not sure if you're aware, but today is National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. It's a sort of a Christmas holiday, or if you can call it a holiday. It started in the US, but it's sort of become this really international thing now. It's held on the third Friday of December every year, and it's really to embrace the inner ugly, gaudy, cheesy, Christmas sweater that you can find and wear happily. Now, Gala, which is a French tabloid, tells us, though, this year it's sort of being overshadowed by the more chic winter sweater, thanks to these celebrities like Kate Middleton here, who recently posted a photo of herself finishing up decorating her Christmas tree, and she was wearing this very chic sort of wintry turtleneck winter sweater. J-Lo also, you can see here, recently wearing this Nordic sort of Fair Isle sweater, which apparently are sort of overshadowing the ugly Christmas sweater day today. I clearly did not get the memo.
I'm glad you didn't get the memo, Dipti. That's what the tradition. It's not supposed to be chic. I've been doing it since I was a child. It's supposed to be gaudy, like you say, and you're doing a great job at it.
Thank you.
Dipti Laurent with the press review. Thank you very much.